Caspian region is hugely important to the UK, primarily through our massive investments in Azerbaijan, with BP and the companies that work with them being responsible for about half of all Azerbaijan's foreign investment. And this means that over time there's been about a $20 to $30 billion investment that not only brings money back to the UK but also sustains about 1,000 jobs. So that's a purely commercial benefit. But in addition to that, Caspian Energy, which has now been coming to Europe through the BTC pipeline for over 10 years, and the prospect of gas as well coming to Europe is hugely important to European energy security and diversity. And I think in times when energy has been used as a political tool, it's something of increasing importance. So the rise in geopolitical tension in the region, particularly as a result of events in Russia and Ukraine, has made, I think, European consumers, and the UK in particular, even more appreciative and aware of the importance of reliable, stable suppliers of energy to European markets. And Azerbaijan has been absolutely that, a reliable, stable provider of oil and soon to be gas to European markets, and one that's worked very closely with British companies in doing that. And so I think it's meant that the UK and the EU has worked harder to support Azerbaijan and its new projects, particularly the Southern Gas Corridor, from becoming a reality, and to ensure that they then provide new sources of energy and new routes of energy to Europe. I think every country is different in the way that it manages regional tensions and their own relations with Russia. Some are particularly close to Russia and have a very integrated approach, and many of the countries of the former Soviet Union are now members of the Eurasian Customs Union. Some are quite deliberate, deciding to be apart from that, countries like Georgia and now Ukraine. Azerbaijan's been quite balanced in its approach and been taking a position relatively equidistant from Europe and from Russia. And I think as a newly independent country establishing its sovereignty and independence, this has been a fairly smart way to approach managing the tensions in the region and its relations with countries that it can't avoid having relations with. And so I think for Azerbaijan, it's developed relations with Russia, but at the same time developed relations with the West as well. I haven't seen these tensions between governments' long-term needs and the companies' short-term needs. If you look at the example of BP, they've been in Azerbaijan for over 20 years. And the president himself has said publicly that he wants BP to be in Azerbaijan for another 20 years. So they've taken a long-term strategic approach to the relationship, understanding that in a sector and an industry like that, there isn't short-term gain. For other companies who have sort of different sectors that they're working in, I think they all do realize that building good, solid relations with the host country and the government and the commercial partners they're working with is absolutely essential to long-term success, and nobody really wants to burn bridges just for short-term benefit. So I haven't seen huge differences between the long-term aspirations of the government and the commercial imperatives of companies. So we've just had some very good news. Last week we signed a joint economic and trade agreement between UK and Azerbaijan to set up a formal framework for government-to-government dialogue on business and trade. And this has been designed particularly to try to expand the UK-Azerbaijani economic and trade relationship beyond the energy sector, where we have a very strong and historic relationship. But Azerbaijan is looking to diversify its economy, reduce its dependence on oil and gas exclusively, and they're looking to develop in areas that the UK does have expertise in ICT, in infrastructure, in tourism, areas that the UK can show its own success and experience. And I think these are areas that we want this new body to focus on in terms of providing opportunities for British companies in Azerbaijan. I think Azerbaijan has taken a strategic decision to make the Southern Gas Corridor a reality. It's put its money where its mouth is. It's basically funded most of the costs related to this. The drop in the oil price and gas price means that there's a bit more pressure on it, but the President's been very clear that this is a strategic priority, and if need be, Azerbaijan will dip into its plentiful resources in terms of reserves to do so. But I think what they're looking to do more creatively, I think, is to go to capital markets, to debt markets, to the international financial institutions, to raise the necessary financing to make this happen. And so I'm in no doubt that this project will come to reality.